Bow chicka wow! Oh, well, hello, people. Yes, you may have noticed I am not Lauren, and over here is not me. Lauren is feeling under the weather, so we are stepping up. We are going to take the show to all the heights that it can without her great and wonderful wisdom. So, mediums, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Writer's Journey. I'm your host, Kayleen Williams. With me is the man, the myth, the legend,
You weren't really supposed to say
Stephen
that.
Manley. Oh, I'm laying it on thick,
I
man.
put that in as a joke.
I totally read it, man. Epic voice. We're two authors on a journey to learn more with you, the audience. So thank you for joining us. We super appreciate it. Tonight we have a very special sponsor. One of our very own is going through some really tough medical health problems right now. Walt Robillard, his wife, had been diagnosed with cancer. There is a GoFundMe that has been opened to help them out. I will post the link a couple times for you guys if you have a few nickels to spare. A very little bit can go a long way. And with that, tonight we're talking about simplifying your book marketing plan with Ally Machate. Yes, nailed it. Ally Machate is on a mission to make great books happen. A best-selling author and expert publishing consultant, Ally has served both small and big five publishers, including Simon and Schuster, where she acquired and edited books for the Touchstone and Fireside imprints. Her client list includes authors publishing with such companies as Simon and Schuster, Penguin Random House, Rodale Inc., Chronicle Books, Kaplan Publishing, Source Books, Sunrise River Press, and Hay House, as well as independently published bestsellers. A Phi Beta Kappa graduate and Masters of Arts in English and Creative Writing, Ally leads a diversified team of professionals who specialize in helping serious authors fulfill their dreams of publishing success, which includes teaching them how to effectively and efficiently write, publish, and sell more books. Get free gifts and learn more at, as I copy the link, thewritersalley.com. And this one, oh wait, no, it helps if I actually send it first. Boom. All right, there we go. And this one, allymachate.com. Alrighty. Welcome to the show, Ally.
Thank you so much. It's always so weird when you hear somebody read your bio back to you, isn't it? Thank you, though.
All right, so I'm just going to jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
As an editor and a ghostwriter, you see a lot of books come across your desks, your desks. Maybe you have multiple. I don't know. I can't talk tonight. Some make big sales and some don't. How does marketing play a role in whether a book sinks or swims?
So there's this great saying about sales. I don't know who said it first, but I've heard it in many different places. And the saying goes that making sales really just boils down to two main things: creating a great product and making sure people know about it. So a lot of authors, especially new authors, they invest a lot of time in writing a quality book, and that's great. Obviously, that's very important. But they can sometimes have this, if you build it, they will come mentality. And unfortunately, that's just totally wrong. It's not how it works. So honestly, marketing plays the biggest role of all, even bigger than the quality of the book itself, because ultimately it doesn't matter how good the book is if no one ever finds out about it in the first place, right?
Very true.
Right. So how do you think, how much can good marketing lift a subpar book?
Can lift it a lot. It can lift it a lot, honestly. I mean, just look at all the celebrity books out there, right?
Right.
There have been books published by people either that were barely more than transcriptions of, conversations. There are books that are really badly written. There are books that are extremely thin, and they've become New York Times bestsellers just on the strength of that person's, their Instagram influencers or their, reality show TV stars. So unfortunately, sometimes the marketing can lift a subpar book quite high.
So getting enough eyeballs on your product, no matter what it is, is sounding like the number one. It could be an okay cover because everyone's like cover, 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 cover. That's what's going to sell it. But if people aren't seeing the cover, regardless of what it is, enough eyes aren't going to be able to latch onto it to give it the chance it needs to really soar. So
Oh no, I was just going to say certainly, but I think the cover is a really interesting example because you are talking very specifically about eyeballs, right?
Yep.
So certainly they have to be directed to the place where they will see that cover. But that is not to say that not having a great cover, having a great cover is not important, because clearly if they get to that page and they see a crappy cover, then your marketing was pointless. So it is all of a piece.
That kind of falls into the quality product part of the formula, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, because if you can get people to look at it, it's got to be appealing and engaging, or they're just gonna mosey on to whatever's next on Amazon.
So in that realm, definitely, as you're saying, like, you want to have a good cover, which would be part of that plan, the marketing plan. So what does a good marketing plan look like to you?
I'd say that any good marketing plan really has three fundamental aspects. And, as far as the cover goes, it's true that plays a role in marketing. For me personally, I usually consider that part of the production aspect. Like Chuck said, it's part of the product. But, that saying that I just mentioned, my personal version is a little bit different. So I say that making sales comes down to creating a great product, but then also making sure the right people know about it. So, in other words, it does you little good to try to tell a bunch of people who really like political thrillers about your new cozy mystery. And it's a mistake to think that women of all ages and types are going to be interested in your book just because your protagonist is female, and so on. So I think that a good marketing plan, first and foremost, has to focus on really creating and supporting discoverability by your target or ideal readers. So you have to invest time in narrowing down who exactly those people are. I hear a lot of authors say, well, everybody can enjoy my book. There's something in it for everyone. Or, they kind of get the idea about target readers, but they'll only narrow it down to like women between the ages of 30 and 60, or something like that.
A little too broad.
A little too broad. And, ultimately, having a broad audience makes it really difficult to choose the marketing tactics that are going to work best for you, because if you don't really, really get clear on who it is you want to be speaking to, you're not going to be able to know where to best find and connect with them.
Right. So what are the best techniques for finding that out?
A lot of it has to do with analyzing the book itself and just thinking through the key elements. So certainly starting with things like your protagonist, your themes, and I think people use this technique where they talk about like avatars. So creating sort of and especially for novelists, this should be a fun and useful exercise. Imagining a character, if you will, that represents who that target reader is. I know some people get really, really specific, like even boiling it down to, how much money they make and what's their pet's name, and, like really crazy stuff. I don't think you have to get that detailed, but it is important to know a narrower age range. So, 30 to 60, that's not useful. What's going to interest someone at age 30 is not necessarily going to interest someone at age 60. They're in totally different times of life. Maybe about 10 years is a little bit more of a better range. Certainly gender matters. Region of the country or countries, if it's international, that's going to matter. Again, depending on the themes or the perspective of the characters in your novel, or even if you're writing nonfiction, sometimes that can come into play. People in different parts of the country might be struggling more with certain issues. You can think about fiction a little bit like nonfiction, in the sense of maybe there's a character in the book that's struggling with some issue or some problem. Maybe they're a single parent, maybe they're a widow or widower, maybe they have an illness or a challenge, a disability, or something like that, that you can sort of use to narrow in on the kinds of people who might most want to be interested in reading that book. And I think the key there is ideal reader. Not that no one else will ever want to read your book, not to say that if your ideal reader is a 50-year-old man, that no women will want to read it. That's not the case. But as far as marketing goes, you want to be narrow. You want to be specific so that you can speak in the best way and figure out the best places to connect with those people.
Yeah, that is something that I have struggled with a lot, is trying to nail down that ideal reader, figure out who it is. Because, I read my reviews and crap like that, but it doesn't tell you where they live or how old they are or anything like that. So, you really, that's kind of a tough nut to crack.
It is really, and some of it's experimentation. Sometimes the audience you think is your target audience is a little off. I heard a story recently, and I'm already fuzzy on the details, but it was about an author who had been promoting to a certain audience and started to notice that his book was really popular among, it was some certain groups online where it was getting a lot of, people were talking about it a lot. It was getting a lot of likes and comments. He was seeing more people on Facebook he was connecting with. And it was a totally different kind of person than he initially thought his target audience was going to be. And as soon as he shifted to talking more to those people, his sales just exploded. So, being a little bit flexible and also paying attention to the feedback you actually get. And one quick trick that I like to tell people, and doesn't work for everybody, depends on your book, but if you can compare yourself to an author or a book that's already out there, if you can look at another book or another author and say, the people who loved this book are exactly the people who are going to love my book. You can kind of cheat a little, there's no need to reinvent the wheel, figure out who those people are talking to and then start there.
Yeah.
So, I know definitely for me too, this question certainly applies when you're trying to find, who that audience is, who these, more narrowed people are. Do you have any tips of even going about doing that? Because I've heard that a lot. It's you need to figure out, who's going to read your book. It's okay, but how am I finding these people? What are the places? What are the sort of flags that I need to be looking for? Yeah, there's a question in there.
Yeah, well, so here's an example. Let's say that your book, let's say it's a nonfiction or a novel that's speaking to older adults, perhaps adults who are already retired. Maybe it's a novel about someone who's retired trying to figure out his place in the world. Maybe it's a nonfiction book about, how to deal with retirement, right? People over the age of 60 aren't hanging out on Snapchat. They're not hanging out on Instagram. If you focus a lot of your efforts on those platforms, you're not really hitting your target audience. That target audience, the statistics generally say, and you can research these types of things, just, some Google foo, but
all the Google, man.
All the Google. Over the age of 60, generally speaking, you're looking at Facebook as far as social media goes. You're not looking at the newer, flashier platforms. They're not using them. And if it's nonfiction, for various reasons, generally speaking, Twitter tends to be more popular for nonfiction readers and nonfiction books, also than fiction. So people who are writing, they're subject matter experts, they tend to get a lot more traction promoting on Twitter, or, perhaps on other channels. If you have a book, conversely, that's very visual, maybe you've written something, maybe you've done a cookbook or a crafting book of some kind. That would be an obvious fit for something like Instagram, right? Because you've got lots of images. So thinking through those kind of details can be really helpful. And it even goes to things like live venues. What kinds of events are those people going to? If you're going to be speaking live, or if you're going to be doing book signings or readings, or even vending at different kinds of events, thinking beyond just the context of a book. I met a guy once who was selling novels about an Irish American investigator who was no longer a cop and who had gone back to the mother country. He was living in this tiny little village in Ireland now where his family had come from. And of course, somebody gets murdered, and now he starts investigating locally. And it was this whole series of books. And he told me that he never went to a single book festival. He only sold his books at Irish festivals.
Oh, very good.
And he sold hundreds of books every time, because if you like to read and you're interested in Irish American culture and Irish stuff, and you're going to be at an Irish festival, and hey, he was the only guy selling books there, so he did extremely well. So it's that kind of thing, I think.
All right, so definitely taking a look at the deeper content that you are delivering. You know, who are your characters? Who could your characters be in real life? You know, those might be the sort of people that you want to target. Definitely, yeah, thinking about age and, you know, get on that Google Foo, as Ali is saying, and figure out where are those target audiences going to be. You know, are they going to be on the Instagram, the Facebook, the Tumblr, the Twitter, all the other does, and focus your efforts towards those places. Um, so
So with all
in
this talk, uh, uh, with all this talk of targeting, that immediately, of course, brings to mind targeted ads, Facebook, AMS, that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts
Sure.
on those and the way they've changed over the last couple of years? Because it seems to me the few ads that I have, if you really want them to do well, you have to have deeper pockets than you used to have. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're absolutely right. I've been hearing the same thing from a lot of authors. A few months ago, I was at a conference and there was a gentleman who wrote, um, they were thrillers. I think they were investigative thrillers, and they were like, procedurals. He had 7 or 8 books out in the series, so he'd been doing it a while. And he came to a talk that I had been giving on book marketing, and we hung out afterwards a little bit. And he was bemoaning the fact that when he published his first few books, like in the early 2000s up to 2005, he said he barely had to do anything. It was like the
Yeah,
Kindle heyday. And then when Amazon ads first started to become a thing, he jumped on the bandwagon really early. And again, there was very little competition. So his ads, for very little, what's it, the per day or per click rate, whatever it
right.
the
is,
yeah the price per click.
the price per click, thank you, was extremely low, and he was getting lots of visibility because he wasn't bidding against anybody else. He wasn't competing. And he told me that at this point, he had a few ads still running, but he didn't even consider it worth his time anymore because the competition had gotten so
Yeah,
stiff. He was getting so little results. So, I mean, I think ads do still play a role in a marketing strategy, but I think they're unfortunately not as effective. It's harder to get more out of them, and it speaks to the same issue of targeting, especially on Facebook, where you're really putting in those kinds of demographic details, and the better you are at it, the better
right.
Facebook can help you.
Yeah,
So as far as analyzing that data, we're really trying to narrow down who is our person, who are these people, you know, as a group that are going to read our book. Oh my god, question, do not leave my freaking brain meat. Urgh. No, it was so brilliant. I loved it. What was it? Oh no, now it's gone. Okay, so as I try to remember what the hell it was,
Why don't you think about that, and I'll circle back because I wanted to mention 2 other aspects I
oh,
think that are really important for a good marketing plan.
there you go. You're brilliant. Do
All
it.
right, cool. So once you're clear on who your target readers are, I think the next most important thing is that when you put that plan together, you're choosing tactics that are really appropriate for you, right? So your book, your unique set of skills, aptitudes, preferences, and circumstances. I really feel it's important that every book marketing plan should be a little bit unique, right? So like, if you don't have a lot of time, you're going to need a budget that accommodates hiring help or paying for shortcuts and tools. If you have a small budget, you're going to need more time on your hands to get the same kind of results. You don't want to hinge your plan on, say, getting up at 4 a.m. on a Monday morning and posting your promotion to 100 sites if you really aren't going to be able to do that. So it's really important to understand that you're customizing the strategy to you, not just doing what somebody else did, because if it worked for them, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. And if you're not realistic about your choices, you're going to get in there and you're going to be overwhelmed, or you're going to drop balls, and then all of a sudden the pieces start falling apart. So I think making sure that the plan fits you and all the unique things about you is the second aspect of a great plan. And then third is actually really simple, but it's definitely not to be underestimated, which is simply being consistent and taking action over time. An author who does even just 3 things every month to market her book, but does them every month all year long, is going to see better sales in the long run than an author who plans for some massive big book launch and then burns out and starts marketing after a month.
Really good point.
You can't build momentum if you don't keep moving.
Right. Do you think that newsletters and mailing lists are still as powerful a tool as they once were?
Do you mean like an author's personal mailing list, a newsletter?
Yeah, and then a newsletter you send out to people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is one thing that has not changed at all. And in fact, it may even have gotten more important. The mailing list is the gold. It's absolutely critical.
So, in part of a good marketing plan, I'm hearing that audience engagement is probably one of the big touchstones.
A lot of it depends on those unique circumstances we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, if you're an author who's publishing their first book in a series, that mailing list is going to be absolutely, absolutely critical for you because you want to be able to get in touch with the people who read your first book so you can let them know about that second book. Amazon doesn't give you that information. You have to get that yourself. So building into your strategy ways to drive people back to your site to opt in, whether that's as simple as a letter at the back of your book inviting people to come get a sneak peek at your next book, right? Maybe it's the first few free chapters, or maybe it's a related short story or some backstory on a character from the book. I mean,
Right.
there's loads and loads of things that you can do. And it could be that simple, having that letter. But there's also lots of other things. There's tools like BookFunnel, which is a fairly inexpensive tool a lot of authors use to give away either the book itself or some of those related things we were talking about in exchange for an email address that syncs with an email management system and allows you to build a list. So there's lots of different ways to do it. But for most authors, if you're planning to write another book anytime soon, having a mailing list and including some eye towards growing that mailing list is definitely going to be a part of it.
Okay.
All right.
Kayleen, did you recall your mind-blowing question?
Oh,
No. That
sad.
thing friggin' was just like, ha 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 ha. It's gonna change everything that you think about, and now I'm gone. Bye. And it's just I don't even remember what the heck was related to the freaking question. I can't remember. So with that, there's so many different ways that you can go about, promoting your book, launching your book, but how can they get too complicated? Can you give us some examples on how, it's definitely simple sometimes is definitely better. And just a lot of people, they want to do all the things. All the things are going to get my book in front of all the eyes, which can definitely get way too heavy. So, and we've kind of, I feel like, touched on a few, complications that can happen, but do you have any others that you can add to that?
Yeah, so building on what we've already talked about a little bit, right? The first thing is that you need to be very realistic about what you can and are willing to do. So again, it's better to be that author with just 3 good tactics than the author who plans 100 different things to happen in just 2 weeks and then, starts dropping balls or, burns out and stops marketing or whatever. And I really bring up that same idea again because I think the dichotomy of the big launch versus small but consistent action over time is a really common way that many authors, especially new authors, overcomplicate their marketing. They don't really know what's going to work, so they want to do, like you said, all the things and all at once.
Right.
All at once,
Absolutely.
all the things, everything's leading up to this day.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that a
guilty of
big
that.
launch. Yeah. And and you may have found this, it's not to say that a big launch can't be fruitful. It certainly can. But you can overdo it if you aren't careful. Good marketing is kind of about quality over quantity in that way. And I think also speaking to your point about doing all the things is that sometimes authors think in terms of, any publicity is good publicity, getting as much exposure as possible, right? They want to blanket the world with their book. They want everyone to know about it. And it kind of becomes more of a spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks approach.
Absolutely.
Sometimes authors, they just want to try everything they hear about. They read about, what this or that author did, and then they want to go do that. But the problem is they do it once because then they're on to the next thing that they read or heard about. That's like the new cool site or the new cool tool or whatever. So when you approach marketing in this way, instead of being a little more strategic, first of all, you can burn out very quickly, like our big launch author. But there's some other problems with that too. If you aren't being scientific, in your approach. If you try something just once and then move on without any kind of analysis or repeated experiments, you're probably going to miss out on tactics that would have been really great for you if you just tweaked one small thing, like you just, changed the ad copy a little, or tried the listing on a different day, or maybe that one promo site didn't really target your particular target audience as well as some other promo site would. So you don't want to just keep bang 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 doing all the things. You could be missing out on some really, really great opportunities while you're exhausting yourself. And that mindset of trying to blanket the world and trying to make sure everybody knows about your book, like we talked about earlier, if 2% of everybody is actually your target reader, look at all that you've wasted. You don't want everyone to know about your book. You want everyone in that 2% to know about your book. So you don't want to waste all your energy chasing every new shiny object that pops up, because you're going to miss the really great opportunities that are already right in front of you. Or at best, even if you try those opportunities, you're not going to be able to give it a best shot because your energy is divided, your attention is divided.
So,
yeah, I can tell you that I am guilty of all of that. And I am currently wallowing in that burnout you keep talking about. I mean, I've reached
Burnout
the point I just sit down. I write my books and I'm just like, let them buy it. I don't give a shit. They'll buy it.
So what I'm hearing, when you've got this new book, you've got, the best cover you can give it, you've given it the best blurb you can give it, we've all heard those things, now it's like all the extra things, pick a few is kind of what I'm hearing you say. Pick a few and give it a few months, ride the wave. If it doesn't really work, okay, well, maybe change the picture in the Facebook ad. Did that help any? If it helped a little, okay, keep the picture, tweak the copy, and give those, ample amounts of time for enough people to see it and be able to get, that data, get the data, become a data hound, but give it enough time to generate is what I'm hearing, at least.
Yeah, no, definitely true. There was a minute where the name of the game was all about gaming the Amazon system and trying to hit, the bestseller in some category. It didn't even have to be your category, right? People would get really any category.
Right.
Pick the most obscure, weird little category and, get to it so you can say, I'm an Amazon bestseller. But we're seeing a real backlash to that. I mean, Amazon itself has actually cracked down on what criteria counts as authors being able to promote themselves as best-selling books in their online copy and things like that. And I think that readers are also more savvy when they see Amazon bestseller. They're not so impressed by that anymore. So these days, I think it's less about doing all the things at launch, and I think shifting into more of a mindset of, I don't have to hit. I don't have to just hit some random number one spot. That's not what's important. What's important is growing an audience and selling books. It doesn't all have to happen in 1 week. I want this to be a lifestyle. I want this to be my career, right? So yeah, pick a few things, be consistent, keep at it, change one thing at a time, right? If you're doing 3 different things, and something, you're not seeing the results you want, don't throw out all 3 things. You're never going to figure out which one of those things was the problem.
Yep.
Right? That's the scientific method. Keep your controls, change one variable, and then give that like a month, maybe a few weeks, whatever. It's going to vary a little depending on what you're doing, but give it some time. Give it a legitimate chance to really see what's working for you and what's not working for you. And don't feel so pressured that if you don't come out of the gate with a bestseller or 1,000 copies sold in a week, that's somehow a failure. It's a totally different picture, I think, for independent publishing. And it's hard for authors when they see the big publishers and the biggest authors who have an opposite model. They're marketing a book 6 months in advance, usually. For indie authors, that often doesn't make sense because they can't buy your book yet. It's a different approach. Theirs is, we have to sell all the books in the first 3 months or we give up and abandon it. The indie model is a much longer game.
Right. Well, we've talked about doing all the things and picking a few that might fit your preferences and lifestyle and so on and so forth. But are there any methods that you think work for everybody, just across the board, that are universally effective? Like you said, the
Yeah.
mailing list was still pretty effective. Anything else like that?
Yeah, one of my favorite strategies to talk about is leveraging the power of free. There is not a successful author alive who hasn't benefited from giving books away for free one way or another. And that might mean sending out review copies to other authors for endorsements, or to book bloggers, or to other influencers. It might mean, larger platform giveaways to readers, or it might even not be the whole book. It might even mean free excerpts or free stories, or, other types of opt-in gifts like we were talking about before. We're living in a world where people expect free tastes before they buy. That's the world we live in. I think it's
Everyone wants their sample.
Everyone wants their sample, and it's foolish to fight it. It's too well established a paradigm at this point. There are just, we live in a very noisy world. There are too many choices in every corner of the marketplace. So one of your best tactics, no matter where you are, in your author trajectory, to attract attention is to offer that pink spoon taste, right? If you have a series, maybe you run giveaways of your first book, or even make it perma-free. If you have just one book, maybe you still run a giveaway, or you focus on sending free copies to reviewers and book bloggers and Amazon top reviewers and people like that. Or maybe you have a street team, of people that you give free copies because they're going to help you promote the book. And I just really want to make clear too, it's not just something for new authors. Even established authors do these things. I mean, sending free copies to the media and to other authors and influencers is something publishers have been doing since books were invented, right?
Yeah, honestly,
Right.
you mentioning getting in touch with bloggers, with vloggers, with the people who that's what they do, is write articles about the things that we are doing. Talking with those people. I mean, for some people that might be like, I never thought of that before. Like, why they could market it for me if they really like it. And don't give up if one person, says, no, it's not for my audience, because they too also have their own audience they are marketing to. So you need to market your vloggers and your bloggers.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's one of the most frustrating and sad things for me that I see so many authors, especially new authors, who they're just very insistent on doing things the hard way because they can't get their heads around the concept of how powerful free can be. And I get that can be a little counterintuitive, right? Like, I wrote a book, I worked really hard, I spent all this money, I spent all this time.
Why would I give it away for free?
Right, I'm trying to make money. Why would I give it away for free? And to be clear, I'm not saying it should be free forever, but as a tactic and used strategically, really nothing is more powerful than free in today's marketplace for people at all stages.
Now, there are those that would argue that there's a preponderance of free seekers out there that can kind of put a crack in that strategy. How would you respond to them?
I think it is an unfortunate downside in the nature of the beast. They're not wrong. While we've seen this rise in the free economy, we of course simultaneously have seen the expectation, and there is some truth to the fact that people don't value things that are free as much. But it's still basic math. If you want to get, to some extent, success in publishing is a numbers game. You want to get as many people reading your books, talking about your books, reviewing your books, recommending your books to their friends as possible. Free helps you do that.
Okay. So basically, as long as you're applying it strategically and not just kind of shotgunning it out there, the benefits would outweigh the free seekers' influence on it.
That still seems to be the case. Yeah. I still see, lots of established authors taking advantage of it. So, I mean, don't leave a stack at the bus stop, right? Like, that's not,
this is not your target audience.
Although I will tell you,
I guess unless your book.
I have actually left books just sitting around in coffee shops in my hometown. They have those little take a book, leave a book things.
Oh yeah.
And I'll stick a couple on the shelves, just for fun.
That's actually strategic in its own thing, because that has its own thing. It's like, here's free books that you can take. Just make sure you leave one behind. And here's one by C. Stephen Manley.
Right.
Comes Cordova effect, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's not random. That's not like I've been to, I go to conferences a lot, for example, and I really enjoy cons, like fantasy, sci-fi, horror cons, right?
Sure.
I've seen people just leave their books in the bathroom. Like, I mean, yeah, somebody might pick it up, but you'd be so much better off sending that book to another author or to somebody, who has a blog for fans of your type of book. I mean,
right.
All right. So we are about with that delightful. I'm going to segue like a champion. I'm going to touch on our show sponsor one more time. And directly from the GoFundMe page of Walt Robichaud's wife's GoFundMe page, which I just said twice. We are raising money to support Chastity while she is away from work and dealing with a very serious medical issue. Chastity has been an amazing trainer, employee, and is a U.S. military veteran. She was diagnosed with cancer 2 weeks ago, and we want to wish her a speedy recovery and support her any way we can. Thank you all. And we definitely at Keystroke Medium thank all of you who are able to give whatever you can, whatever nickels. We love you, Walt. We love you, Chastity. And we do wish the best recovery ever. And that's all I got. That's all I got for show sponsor before I start crying. All right, here we go.
All right, so
yeah, there we go. There you go.
Okay, am I in? All right. So we've talked about the Amazon ads, newsletters, just the things that kind of are established as marketing techniques for indies. Since you're kind of on the cutting edge of that industry, is there anything new that you see coming down the pike that might kind of, because when AMS ads first kicked off, it sort of turned marketing on its ear for indies, right? So do you see anything new like that might be coming that will be as useful, or just anything at all that we haven't done before in 2020?
I haven't heard about anything quite on that level of game changing. I think what we're really seeing right now is more of an expansion and a development of some of the things that are already out there that are increasing in popularity and, building better ways to do it. So one thing, for example, Goodreads for a very long time has been the only truly dedicated social media platform for book lovers and for readers, even before it was bought by Amazon. It was all about, it was like Facebook for book nerds, basically, like connect with authors, connect with other readers, all that kind of stuff. But Goodreads has gotten a lot of flack lately for being very outdated, for changing some of its policies around giveaways, for example, for just some of the antiquated ways in which the site itself works and some of the features it does and doesn't have. Readsy, which is a sort of a marketplace for authors looking to hire various types of professionals, recently launched something called Readsy Discovery, which I haven't seen them actually say this, but my impression is that it's trying to be the new Goodreads. It does a lot of the same types of things that Goodreads has done in a better looking, easier to navigate type of way. We'll see if it takes off. But if it does, that could be a great new platform for authors looking to build an audience and to get exposure. And it's not a new thing, but it is something I'm seeing a lot more of, and that I really love, is just increased collaboration between indie authors on things like box sets and cross promotions. I bought a couple of box sets recently, actually, that were theme based. One was a bunch of short stories, and the other were a bunch of first novels from different authors. So all first novels in different series from different authors. And as a reader, I love that, because I get a great deal on a bunch of different new things to read. And I get to discover a bunch of authors that now, if I like the stories or I like the first books, I'm going to go and check out those authors' other books or their, whatever else that they have going on. So I can discover new people in a fairly easy way. And I did it not by looking for any particular author, but by looking up the types of books I like to read. So I was attracted to it because of, what the collection was about. I think that's really cool. And I'm seeing more authors doing that, and because more authors are doing that, I'm seeing more tools to help facilitate it. So we're seeing more tools that make it easier to create the kind of files, that sites like Amazon and Smashwords and Barnes & Noble need to sell a box set. I'm seeing more tools to help create the art, the 3D image of a box set, even when it's virtual, it's not technically like really a box set, but we want to make it look like one. And even royalty sharing tools. I've seen a couple of companies launch platforms in the last few months specifically designed to help authors who are collaborating in that way split the royalties easily. Because you've got a lot of different people on one project, that can get complicated. So I'm hopeful that we'll see even more sophisticated tools and more options for authors to find each other and put that stuff together and promote them. So I think that's pretty great.
Yeah.
You mentioned permafree earlier. I was wondering, what advice would you give to somebody? What would be the difference in your marketing strategy for someone who's wide versus someone who's all in with Amazon?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Well, first of all, certainly if you are going to be exclusive with Amazon, you might as well take maximum advantage of that, because there are things that Amazon makes available to authors through the Kindle Select program only if you agree to be exclusive. So if you are only on Amazon and you're not participating in any of those programs, you're really missing the boat. Kindle Select can be nice. The Kindle Unlimited program can be really great. A lot of authors are having a nice experience where they're earning income. It's by pages read as opposed to necessarily the whole book. So the income is flowing in sometimes. And also, if someone doesn't finish the book, you can still make some money, which is pretty great. And there's a fairly low barrier because, of course, the people who subscribe to Kindle Unlimited, in some sense, the books are all free for them, right? Because they're paying a flat rate. So it's a population of readers who are often open to reading books that look interesting from new authors that they might not otherwise have tried if they had to buy it or if they had to go find it somewhere else. And Amazon promotes the books that are listed in its Kindle Select program, gives them a little bit more organic love than books that are not. Kindle Countdown deals, they offer the freebies, the freebie days that make it really easy to run giveaways and promote that. So I would definitely say all of those tools should be playing a role in your marketing plan if you are only on Amazon. And if you're wide, there's a difference as well in the kind of sites you might be listing a price promotion or a giveaway on. There are some sites that cater very specifically to books that are Kindle books. Kindle readers, like Kindle Nation Daily is one of the largest newsletters out there. They have like some obscene number of subscribers, and the results can be really great, but it's only for Kindle, right? So if you are wide, you might not necessarily not use it, because if you're wide, you are also on Amazon, but you might be looking at some promotion sites that specifically include links to all of the other retailers, as opposed to the sites that are very clearly targeting Kindle people. It doesn't substantially change what you're doing. It just might change the specific places that you go or that you list or the tools that you use.
Okay.
So be it wide, be it exclusive. And there have been a few things, like definitely don't do all the things all at once. But for the author who has a low budget, they're really short on time. Do you have any other tips to kind of give those authors who kind of like are like, I've got this much to do all the things that I can do?
So what would you
Great
prioritize?
segue into a question.
Sorry. Well, I mean, honestly, like I hate to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to say giveaways again. If you're short on time or money or both, running giveaways is one of your best marketing options. And again, I really do want to acknowledge that I know that seems counterintuitive. If you're short on money, the last thing you think you want to do is give away, books for free. But hang with me for a minute. I will explain this. All things being equal, a free book is going to get downloaded more than even a 99-cent book is, every time. And because this is true, there are dozens of sites built on the idea that they tell their subscribers about great books that are free. And those same sites will allow you to promote your giveaway, or if you're using those Kindle Select freebie days, for free as well. So giveaways and freebie days can be really great if you're low on cash, because you can reach potentially thousands of new readers and you don't have to spend much, if any, money to do it. Right? There's no learning curve like there is with ads. There's no waste. You can get up in the morning on the day of your free day, and if you have that energy to post to 100 different promotion sites, or there are some really good tools out there that for fairly low cost will submit them for you. Book marketing tools is one. I think it's something like $20 and it'll submit to 25 sites. And then you can sort of upgrade from there. So you could reach thousands of readers for less than $100, and sometimes even free if you focus on the sites that will allow you to list for free. So I like that very much. If your book is on sale, there are pretty much no sites that are going to let you list it for free. Right? It's sort of like an acknowledgement. Well, you're offering your book for free, so we'll let you promote it for free. So I like it for that reason if you have a small budget. And if you're short on time, I also like it for similar reasons. So, if you, how do I explain this? You'll see results faster. Right? So one thing that's really, really important that authors sometimes don't quite realize, the relationship between reviews and sales. Right? Having lots of book reviews is not just about feeling really great because people like your book. It's really a critical conversion tool. If somebody who doesn't know you lands on your Amazon sales page and you have less than 5 reviews and they're not 5-star reviews, they're probably not going to buy that book. Right? They're going to go to the other book that's, also 99 cents and has 55-star reviews. So you want to get good reviews, as quickly as possible. Let's say 10% of readers will post a review. If you run a giveaway, you can get your book to, let's say, 1,000 readers in one day. And by that math, see 100 reviews posting in the next few weeks or months. If you try to do that organically, let's say you're a new author, you're selling maybe 5 to 10 books a week. How long is it going to take you to see that same 1,000 readers to get that same 100 reviews? It's going to take you years.
Very long time.
A very long time. It's going to take you years. And again, if you have multiple books, your read through is going to result in more sales overall by giving away that first book for free. And you save a ton of time, because if you are really, really strapped, you don't even hardly have to market the rest of your series at all. Just keep giving away that first book and you will naturally make more money and get more sales and get more reviews, assuming you've done your job and your books are good, and people keep reading through the rest of your series just by focusing on that one book.
And what you're saying is actually tying into an audience question comment, Mr. Bill Frisbee, but you need that freebie to tie into other books or the rest of the series. It doesn't have to be free forever, but especially, if you're going to be writing a series, it's definitely a good segue into, sorry, tiny person walking in. Chuck, save me. She totally just killed my thought process.
So obviously, if you have a freebie, you want it to be a leader to another book, and then that book to another book. If you're doing a series kind of thing. Now, my question is this, though. If let's assume you've got a trilogy or more, whatever, and you've got the first book, but you don't want to go perma-free with it. You just want to run a free campaign. Do you want to do like a day and then like just that one day, or would you recommend longer, like a week? What's a good setup for a free campaign like that? Is there a sweet spot for how long you should run it?
Most people see the best results with giveaways anywhere between 1 and 3 days, but it's one of those things I think you really have to experiment with. One of the nice things that can happen if you run a short giveaway, say only 1 or 2 days, is something that we call the halo effect. And this is another way in which, that idea of like, oh, I'm giving away books for free, but I need to make money. Giveaways can actually make you money, and not even just on sell-through, but what the halo effect is, primarily on Amazon, but it happens on other sites as well, is that for several days following a giveaway, when your book goes back to its regular price, authors often will see a spike in sales. So like the day right after the giveaway ends, there'll be a huge spike, and then it'll sort of go down over the next few days. And it's for a variety of reasons. Some of it is as simple as, people got the email and didn't read it right away. And the next day they're like, oh, but I still really want that book. It's only $2.99. Okay, I'll buy it. Some of it
Right.
is, some of it is Amazon. When you get a lot of activity for your book on Amazon, Amazon will often give it a little love. It'll start promoting your book a little bit for you, because of course Amazon makes money when you make money. So it's in their best
Right.
interest to try to boost or build on something that you already have going. So that halo effect does happen. And but you definitely, I wouldn't run a giveaway for 7 days. I think that's rather long. And it also depends a little bit on what platform. On Amazon specifically, I wouldn't run it that long. Most of the strategies that I see authors saying they have the best success with tend to be taking those 5 freebie days and breaking them up over time. So either 1 or 2 days at a time and sort of spreading it out. That said, Goodreads used to take a completely opposite stance. When they first were running their giveaways, they would teach that best practices were that you want to give away a few books at a time, and that you want to run it for at least a week to give people lots of time to enter. But I think a part of that reason was the way that Goodreads functioned. It wasn't so much about obviously creating any kind of halo effect, because they don't sell books on Goodreads. The goal was more about giving people time to discover the giveaway and mark the book as to read. As you mark the book as to read to enter the giveaway, all the people you're connected to on Goodreads would see you do that, and theoretically might be interested and click through, and then they would enter the giveaway and mark it to read. So they recommended a
Right.
longer period because that platform just benefited from that more sustained effort, if that makes sense.
And do you think that for the duration of that free campaign, be it 1 to 5 days, whatever, should you ramp up like ads and things to try and push the free, or just sort of let whatever you've got do the heavy lifting on that?
No, you've got to promote a giveaway. They do not promote themselves. I mean, there are
Okay.
places that they can be discovered. Like Goodreads has a page that you can go to see any given book that's on giveaway right now. Amazon has a similar link where you can go to the free books, or the top 100 free books, or they've got a couple different places. But you don't want to rely on those things, because it's only a small percentage of people who
Okay.
are going there. Most people find out about giveaways and even price promotions. They find out about them in lots of other ways. So you got to promote it.
So we did have
Okay.
an audience question right before you talk, Chuck, from Bard
You
of
said
Today.
save me.
Oh, Kayleen, before you say that, I want to speak to that guy's question from before. He asked, if it has to be the first book in a series. I just want to add, as Chuck said, obviously it's best that you want that book to be related to your other books. But if you're a nonfiction author and you have a bunch of books on the similar topic, like maybe you write parenting books, it doesn't have to be a series per se. If someone likes one of your parenting books, they're very likely to want to pick up other parenting books that you've written. And likewise, if you're writing fiction, it may not be that you have other books that are necessarily part of the series, but they should at least be in the same genre. It's not going to work as well if you're giving away, say, a Western and all of your other books are vampire stories. Like, you're not going to get the same kind of carryover that you would if you had 5 standalone Western novels and you give away 1. That would still work.
So, have you done any kind of work with the audiobook market?
I really haven't. I have a great friend named Tina Dietz, who is my audiobook guru, and I send everyone to her. But I will say that audiobooks are a highly overlooked area, and there's huge potential for sales. It's one of those things where it can take a larger investment. You do not want to be like in your basement with your iPhone recording your audiobook. People who listen to audiobooks regularly have much higher standards for the quality. So the investment can be a lot steeper, but of all of the different formats of books, audiobooks have been growing. I think like last year it was something like almost 400% growth. I mean, it's just leaps and bounds
Yeah.
in almost all genres. So I would
But
definitely
as far as
suggest
as
people
far
look
as
into it.
marketing them goes, is that as far as marketing them goes, is it pretty much the same as ebooks or?
It's similar in mindset, but the tools are very different. You know, to my knowledge, there's not the same, for example, wealth of promotional sites where you can go and list your free audiobook or to promote your audiobook that's on sale. I don't think we've seen that kind of explosion happening for that format just yet. But to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know it very well, so I
Yeah.
could be,
Well,
you
it is
know,
kind of untapped territory still, even as big as a market as it is. I know there's a lot that it has a lot of room to grow still.
yeah, I mean, like the stuff about target audience and finding your target audience and thinking about where they are, that absolutely still applies. It's still a book, doesn't matter what format it's in. But you've got the added caveat of your target audience is now people specifically who listen to audiobooks,
Right.
right? So there's another piece to that puzzle. But other than that, you know, the general advice of thinking that through, that still matters a lot. Planning a realistic strategy that suits your unique book and your unique set of circumstances, that definitely still applies. So I think those basic things still apply, but the finer details of where you promote it and what tools you might use are probably a little different.
Okay.
So, wrapping back all of this promoting, a lot of questions that I hear, and it's one that's in the chat as well. When to really start promoting? You know, some people say start day one, start 3 months before, continue on. And theirs is specifically towards giveaways, when to start promoting a tour giveaway. What are your, I guess, insights, opinions, lovely expertise, um, for how soon to be promoting that new book or that new giveaway before it
Um,
even actually happens?
yeah. So a lot of that depends on what your specific goals are. So, for example, um, if you need to build your mailing list, maybe because you're just starting out or because it's like your second or third book and you still really want to focus on building that. There's a lot that you can do, even though your book may not be available just yet, prior to its release, to try to invite people onto that list with, you know, the idea of, you know, be the first to know when the book releases, or I'm going to be, you know, running this special offer and only you guys are going to be hearing about it, or something like that. So there can be value to promoting a book that may not yet be available if something like that is your goal. Similarly, if you're looking, if it is important to you for whatever reason, to hit a bestseller spot in a category or even in the overall top 100, which is probably one of the few that still has true value if you hit that list, because you get tons of visibility if you hit that list.
Oh yeah.
You know, there are strategies that take a much longer lead time to build up to getting people ready to all go and buy your book on a certain day or in a certain window. But for most authors, for most indie authors, honestly, I think before the book is available, you want to be doing all the planning and research and writing the emails and preparing, but you don't really want to do too much promoting before the book is actually available, at least for pre-order, because ultimately, when you're talking about online marketing, people want to have instant gratification. You know, they want to read the review and click and buy the book. They're not going to read the review and be like, oh, it's not publishing for 2 weeks. Okay, I'll go back in 2 weeks and buy it. They're not going to remember in 2 weeks, you know?
True.
So it's really important to have some way for them to get, whether it's a pre-order or waiting till the book is actually available. You know, one thing that I think a lot of authors aren't aware of is that on Amazon, again, especially, and it is the giant in the marketplace. I mean, you know, we're always talking about Amazon, but it is for a reason. The vast majority of books are sold there. There's this 30-day period when a book publishes on Amazon that is absolutely critical. And the bots or the algorithm or however you want to describe it at Amazon, the masterminds at Amazon, are watching new books pretty closely. So within that first 30-day periods, you want to have as much activity going on. People visiting your book page, people downloading your book, people buying your book, people posting reviews, hopefully positive reviews. You want to have as much of that stuff happening within that first 30-day window as possible, because if you do, there's a very good chance that Amazon will jump on that and, again, start promoting your book for you, which will give you a lot more visibility to new readers than you ever could have on your own. And it's that first 30 days. It's not 6 months before. It's not a month before. It's 30 days from when your book publishes. So I think that you kind of waste a lot of your efforts if your book isn't actually available before you start promoting it. And same with like a giveaway or price promotion. Like, they're not going to mark their calendars for the giveaway on Friday. I mean, your best fans might, right? And that's where the mailing list comes in. You could tell your mailing list, hey, my book's going to be available for free for 2 days only, for this weekend only. Mark your calendars, tell all your friends. But generally speaking, to the broader public, to the people that don't really know you yet, and those are the people you want to reach, it's not going to matter to them unless they can click and buy.
That is excellent advice. Because I've personally gone back and forth with, the month before it actually publishes, I could do these things, and then, during this time I could do that, but, yeah, that just puts it really into good. Anyway. Thank you so much for joining us. We've really just hit the hour. Stop it, Chuck.
I love you, Kayleen.
I love you too. Thank you so much for saving me, Chuck. And thank you so much for being on the show, Ally. Can you tell our audience, our viewers, our listeners, where they can find you, your work, all of your greatness?
Yes. Well, thank you very much for having me on, first of all. And to all of you authors out there, if you have a completed draft of your book that's ready for editing, or if you have a final manuscript that's ready to publish, come visit us at thewritersally.com. You can find out more about our editing, design, and publishing services. Or if you are preparing to launch a book and you need help with a marketing plan, or if you've already published a book and you're not getting the results that you hoped for, you can visit me at allymachate.com to learn a little bit more about my one-on-one and group programs. In particular, my Sell More Books, Get It Done group, which is my group program around book marketing tactics. I'm going to be running my next one early next year. So check out the site, fill out the form, or you can even email me directly at allymachate.com. Just tell me a little bit about your book and that you're interested in the group, and we'll see if you're a good fit.
All right. Y'all heard it here. Thank you so much for joining us on your writer's journey. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, ding the little bell, get all the notifications, make little comments so that we know what you think of the show. What do you want to see more of? Who do you want to see more of? What do you want to know about? We want to know these things. We want to know what's in your brain meats so that we can also partake in the knowledge that you want to be partaken of. And with that, be sure to check us out next week. We're going to talk about more reading, writing, and everything in between right here on Keystroke Mediums, The Writer's Journey. Good night, you guys.
Later.